the CRM. So the CRM portion is a great way for you to manage your activities, your pipelines, and all sorts of forecasting. So really great for company-wide meetings to see how you guys are trending. Now, I am recording the session today, so if anyone has to jump out early, don't worry about it. I will be sending the recording directly to everyone who has RSVP'd. And of course, you can share out this recording to everybody in your company, which is great. As always, I'll have all of the attendees muted to kind of keep things going today. You can put any questions into the chat icon with GoToMeeting. Just send all of your questions through chat, and when I send out the recording after the session, I'll go ahead and answer any questions. And of course, we always have our lovely support at workbook.net team to help answer any questions that maybe you didn't think of while we were going through the system. So with that, let's get started. As you can see, I'm logged in as an advanced user and I'm accessing the CRM. The CRM is this icon on the top left-hand corner, right in the middle, looking like a little target. Now, only advanced users have access to the CRM. If you currently have basic users that you want to use any of this functionality, you would have to upgrade their license type to advanced. The first submodule we'll go through today is My Activities. And these are, of course, my activities. This is what I need to follow up on as an advanced user. So I might be a sales manager, I might be an account manager, anyone who needs to do client-facing relations. Now, as with all things with Workbook, in the top right-hand corner, we have our filter. In this case, I am filtered upon all of my activities that are not completed yet. And there's no date filter applied to this, but this is where I can really get things drilled down and focus on just the activities that I want to see. Of course, any filters that you select here, you can save using your filter save functionality. And once you go ahead and save them, you have that option to utilize your filters in the drop-down. Once you have your activities filtered upon, you'll see in your list here what you need to follow up with. Now, with any grid in the workbook system, you can right-click and modify your grid. In this case, I've modified the grouping to group by due date. So you'll see here when I group by due date, it actually shows my due activities. If you were to show all of your activities at once, it would also show future activities as well. So it's a really helpful feature there so you can focus on the things that are need to be prioritized. But of course, you can also group on any other of the columns, as well as being able to hide certain columns. So if you wanted to hide maybe updated, and you'll notice that that pops away there. So a really nice way to streamline this information for you. So when you are looking at your activity list here, you'll see the activity text. This is what I need to follow up on. This date is when I need to follow up. Now, of course, this date will trigger a notification in your inbox called the CRM Activities for Follow-Up. So once this date comes to fruition, it's going to populate a notification in your inbox, and you'll have access to all of this information directly in your inbox, which is absolutely fantastic. Helps remind me. So once you highlight any of these lines here, you can open up the card on the bottom. You can show or hide this card at any time. It's the icon in the top right-hand corner that looks like a little badge. And you'll get some more information on the resource that your activity is upon. Of course, if it's a current client, that's going to be a thumbs up. If you have a little target here, that indicates a prospect. Within my resource card, I have all of the information that is standard, also available within the resources list. So what is the name of the company, general contact information, as well as a resource group. Resource group is a really great way to group your clients or prospects. So let's say it would be Client X University would be the group, but then maybe you have one prospect that is the admissions and another prospect that would be the sales and marketing section. So it's a nice way for you to kind of visualize how all of those resources are tied together. Our next little icon here is contacts. So of course, this is every contact underneath that client or prospect that you want to follow up with. On the high level, you have their name, email address, title, very standard. But we can open up our contact card, again, using this little badge icon to get some more granular data upon them. The most important thing here is your interest codes. If you're not familiar with interest codes, we actually do offer an active campaign integration. If you were to create certain interest codes with mailing items here, mailing lists, you could sync that up to Active Campaign. So if you were to check off the newsletter prospects, for example, this would automatically sync to Active Campaign. And then when you set up your new mailers, it's really easy for you to just click the button and go rather than manually updating those lists. This is also a great way to designate any sort of holiday card writing, any sort of formal letters that you want to send out and group by. It's a nice way to tag those individual users so you can run reports on them later. In order to add a new contact here, it's really it's very similar to anywhere else in the resources. You can double click on the last line and type in the person's name. If you wanted to delete a line, just go ahead and delete that line item. Our next item here is our activities. Now, this is the most important part because, of course, it corresponds to that CRM functionality. So you can see here a list of all of the activities that have happened underneath this client or prospect and who logged that activity and when, as well as what actually happened. So this is great if you have a lot of project managers or account managers or salespeople that are all working together in order to get those results. So you can easily see everything that has occurred, and you can log the activities that you have been doing. So in order to log an activity, you'll hit this Create New Activity icon, and it's automatically going to set Barbara as responsible since I'm logged in as Barbara. I did this. You would just write in your activity text. If you wanted to add it to a pipeline, go ahead and select that. Of course, the date can either be today or in the future. So perhaps you wanted to make sure that you're following up with a client or prospect in the future. I'm working from home today, so sorry if you can hear my little cat meowing in the background. So when you set your date, you can go ahead and select whether this activity is done or not. If you leave this unchecked, of course, this will trigger that notification in your inbox whenever the date comes to fruition. Now, again, Barbara has been defaulted to who is responsible, but I could go ahead and say that I want Peter to work on this item. So once the 16th of February comes, Peter would be the one to get that that activity in his inbox, that notification. So this is really great for sales managers, being able to input prospects and then parse out who should be following up with whom. Now, with this, you can see here we have some activities that have been specified already. These activities are not the same activities that you would use on a task or a time entry. These are CRM specific activities, and these are customizable for your solution. So if you have any questions on the setup of how do I make different activities such as meeting or follow-up, I'll be sending out a help desk article on the initial setup of the CRM and how to get that going. Now, you might have noticed that there's a start and end time here. You can specify the start and end time and actually sync out this activity to your external calendar. So you'll see this little icon here, this column saying add to external calendar as task. So if you were to check this off, it's going to sync up to your external if you have that communication going in the system, and it would set a little reminder. So you don't have to be living in Workbook in order to remember to do this activity. When you have completed your activity, all you have to do is check it off as done, and then this particular activity will not trigger that notification in your inbox, and you'll go ahead and create a new activity for follow-up. Jumping down here, we'll take a look at our pipeline. This little icon shows us all of the pipelines that we have underneath this client or prospect. So in this case, we have 2 of them. You could check off showing any non-active pipelines. I recommend setting pipelines as inactive if perhaps they're lost or you don't think that anything is going to be going with them, just to keep things moving and grooving. And we'll go through how to create pipelines in a moment. But this is a nice way to see everything that you have going on within your client or prospect and who is responsible for that particular pipeline. Jumping down, we have our clients and prospects list. So again, this is very, very similar to our resources module. What I've done here is I have filtered and I've made sure to see absolutely everything. But again, we can filter down by whom is responsible, what type of business is it, and where is it located. So this is very nice to have for your sales meetings with your sales folks, just seeing who has the most prospects, making sure that all that information is updated appropriately. And again, I have grouped by country. So where are they located? We have all the same information here available to us in our resource card, as you can see below. So as I go from prospect and client to prospect and client, I can review all of the activities again in my resource card underneath. Let's hop down to all activities. And this is going to be great for sales managers again, to be able to review every single activity in the entire system. So if you wanted to filter by certain folks that are responsible, you'll go ahead and add that information there. I'd recommend filtering by activity status of not done and just seeing who has to do what and when. So you'll see here, since I'm still I'm still grouped by due date, it's showing all of my due activities lumped up. So you can edit and add any activities the same here as you did within my activities, but this is just every single activity within the system. Of course, we can use user access rights to hide this portion of the system if you don't want your salespeople to be able to see the activities for other folks. So just keeping that in mind. But let's get to the nitty gritty. This is the most important piece of the CRM because, of course, you want to be following up on your pipelines, managing the money coming into your system. And that's going to be occurring underneath our pipelines sub-module. I'll go ahead and get rid of these sidebars just for a moment so you can see what we have going on here. I have my filter going again, Barbara and Peter's pipelines within a particular time frame. And I can see that there's still a ton of different ways for me to filter these items down. Once I'm filtered, I can see in my list view everything that I have going on with my pipelines. On the high level, we have our probability, our status, and our stage. These are all interconnected in a way. So with your probability, this can be triggered by a particular status. And your status can be personalized to you. So if you have not been playing around with the setup of your CRM, then this is a great way to customize that for you guys. So maybe your first stage would be talking to the client. Second stage would be sending over a price quote. It can say the exact language that makes sense for you and your sales team. Again, we have the option to show or hide our prospect card at the bottom. But the most important item here is the pipeline card on the side. So this is where we're going to edit the information from our pipelines. Now the pipelines we've created here are very simply made by clicking the top left-hand corner, create new pipeline, and it will automatically generate some information depending on what you're already highlighted upon. So you'll just go ahead and type in the information that is pertinent for you. And once you click in this information, you'll be able to edit it out more within your pipeline card. So we'll give it a name. We'll select whether it's active. Again, I recommend unchecking this if you have a lost pipeline, if it's going to be on hold for a long time. It just makes it easier for you to filter upon later. Whom is responsible, the client contact, as well as the rating. Your rating here is going to be customized for your deployment. So again, have this read however you would like. Choose a status. Now, once you choose the status, it's automatically going to populate the probability depending on your settings in the back end. Your probability here is important because it's going to be applied against your profit. So you'll see here we have a start date, however many months are going to be worked upon this possible job, and then our GP is $99,000. Now, since our probability is set to 80%, we have our expected at $79,200. And because that's occurring over 42 months, that also gives us our expected monthly. So this is really key information to keep track of because, of course, this is displayed within our 12-month summary forecast. So you can review and edit all of this information directly in the pipeline card until you convert this pipeline into a job. When you convert a pipeline into a job, that means it's either going to be in process or perhaps you want to create a price quote. So you'll see here, the stage here is quotation because I have linked up this pipeline to a job. And now instead of clicking into these fields and editing, all of my information is being pulled directly from the price quote. So really neat functionalities here that we'll go over in a little bit. The gross revenue here is just a free form field that you could import this information to. You don't need to worry about this information being displayed within your 12-month summary forecast. Again, it's just free form. And any sort of comments you might want to add to this pipeline, maybe a note for your sales manager for them to know about. Our second icon here is our pipeline activities. So if there were any activities that you created underneath My Activities or All Activities that were tied to this particular pipeline, that would be listed here. So this is a great way for you to keep all of your activities in check and on track. So you could have 100 different host soil engineering activities, right? But only a few of them are linked to this particular pipeline. So really nice ways for you to keep things very neat and organized. Now hopping down here, let's go to our convert pipeline to job. So again, let's say I was working on this particular pipeline and I am working with a prospect. It looks like he really wants me to send along a price quote to him to start talking real numbers. So in order to create a price quote, excuse me, in order to create a price quote, of course, you need to have a job associated with that. So you'll go to this little icon saying convert pipeline to job, and you'll see here that we have one already selected for us. Now, if this was completely blank, you would hit this little icon saying convert pipeline to job. The system would ask you, are you sure you want to convert it? You would say yes. If you were converting a pipeline on a prospect to a job, it would ask you if you wanted to convert the prospect into a client. Now, in many cases, you probably don't want to do that because your prospect is still a prospect until that quote is signed and you guys are doing business. So we recommend creating those jobs underneath a your sales internal client until it's real. And then of course you can move that job from the sales internal client to the converted prospect to client. If they are already a current client, that's perfect. You'll just be able to create that job right underneath that client and go from there. So you'll see here that we have our job, the current status is in quotation, the price quote, and the probability. Now, when I open up this job card, I'll go ahead to the price quote and show you guys how that all works. You'll see here now that the total is $99,000 on my price quote and the probability is 80%. If I start changing up my probability, let's say it was 90%, and if I were to go to the lines and I started editing out all of this information, the total amount, you'll see that that is going to change what is reflected within my pipeline. So you'll see here now the price is 100,000, my probability is 90%. So this is very key because everything that you're doing within the jobs module is going to be reflected within the CRM. You don't always have to tie a pipeline to a job in order to have your price quote information displayed correctly within the 12-month summary forecast. And we'll go over that in a moment. Next, we have our pipeline lost information, and it's very sad. So we have an unhappy face here for you. But if for any reason your pipeline is lost, it doesn't go through, you'll just be able to check this off. And once you check it off, it'll automatically change the pipeline stage to lost. You can give a reason. Again, this is customizable for your deployment. So this is great for you guys to be able to run reporting on later and see if it's always price that we're getting the negative feedback on, then maybe we can re-review our pricing structure. You could select a competitor if you want to track that information as well and give a brief description. As with all things in Workbook, you could, of course, tie any emails and documents to this particular pipeline. Really nice if you wanted to include any sort of emails from the client or prospect and save it directly here with maybe RFP information. Really nice stuff to save here. Now, one thing I will mention here that perhaps you weren't aware of. Remember when we were on our pipeline details and we saw this months and then our gross profit with expected monthly. there is a system variable that will that will change the way that your pipeline summary forecast is being displayed. So in this particular case, the system is automatically evenly allocating this $99,000 throughout your 42 months. But if you want to, you can switch the system variable to take from a payment plan. So if you were to switch the system variable, it would add a new icon here called Pipeline Payment Plan, and you could actually choose the exact months that you are going to recognize that that revenue coming in. So you would be able to see $5,000 in March, $1,000 in April, and get very, very tailored information. So of course I will send that that system variable information out in my email, and you're free to play around with this a little bit. The system variable is not going to affect anything that you've done with your other setups. But it's great because if you use payment plans on your price quotes as well, that will be displayed effectively. So let's go ahead and dive into that 12-month summary forecast and see how that all comes together. So this is our 12-month summary forecast. Of course, on my demo environment, it's not as pretty as hopefully your guys's are looking. So you can see here, we have filtered upon a particular starting point. And then you can add dimensions here as well. So if you wanted to filter by an account manager, a particular client, all very good things to focus upon, especially company as well. If you have multiple companies in your system, really key information to have. And then once you have your filters, you can see everything that's in process, quotation, opportunity, and lead. Now we have that all visualized within a line graph, and you can look at all of that information here. But of course, we have our monthly values on the bottom as well. So this is taking from both our pipelines, which are in opportunity and lead, and pipelines that are in quotation mode, as well as any jobs and in-process jobs that are in quotation and in process. So again, you don't have to have it tied to a pipeline if you don't want to. So this is the high-level numerical values here. You can dive into the jobs in process in order to get a list view of all of the different jobs that are being taken into consideration for these numerical values. So you'll be able to see their current stage, the name, their start and end days, as well as each of those monthly values. So if you go through here, you'd be able to see, where am I recognizing that money for each of these months, for each of these jobs. So the jobs in process are going to show you all of your jobs in quotation and in process mode. And then your pipeline projects are solely taking from your pipelines that are in opportunity and lead. So you could show your cold and lost pipelines here as well. This wouldn't be taken into consideration for your 12-month summary forecast, but it's good to see the money displayed and seeing how much money are in these two stages. And there we go. So if you're familiar with the CRM already, you might have noted that there's a couple sub-module options that are not yet available within version 9. But the good news is that in version 9.2 and 9.4 and above, we're going to be able to utilize the resource search. Now, the resource search functionality is really great. It allows you to choose some search parameters depending on interest codes and profile information, and generating lists from that. So I'll go ahead and send along a help desk article on how to use resource search in version 8, and I'll give you a little preview of how it's going to look in version 9. So a lot of cool things to look forward to. But for today's session, we went through the high level information of CRM, the kind of the basics, and I hope that it gives you some more information to work off of. So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to input a couple questions into the chat here. And if you think of it after the call, don't hesitate to reach out to support@workbook.net. I hope you all have a lovely, lovely Valentine's Day. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me this morning, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.